The protests over the Stamp Act ended in victory for the colonists. Many members of Parliament feel that this is a dangerous precedent, one that will encourage further disobedience. These presumptuous colonials will have to be brought under control. On the same day that the Stamp Act was repealed, they had passed a new piece of legislation, the Declaratory Act, asserting the absolute right of the British Parliament to make laws for the American colonies in all cases whatsoever. A year later, Parliament puts teeth in the act with a new set of taxes on the colonies, this time in the form of stiff duties on manufactured goods from England. Everything from paint to window panes to tea. Benjamin Franklin fears there is going to be another firestorm of colonial protest and sends this poem to American newspapers, urging moderation.
We have an old mother who peevish is grown. She snubs us like children that scarce walk alone. She forgets that we're grown with sense of our own. If we don't obey orders, whatever the case, she frowns and she chides and loses all patience, and sometimes she hits us a slap in the face. Her orders are so, we often suspect, that age has impaired her of sound intellect. But still, an old mother should have due respect.
The idea that a body of men in England, who know nothing about the colonies, who see nothing of the misery that their taxes will inflict upon us, have given themselves the right to command our lives and our property at all times and in all cases whatsoever. This is the logic of robbers and highwaymen.
The Declaratory Act strikes terror in their hearts. Earlier in the century, an almost identical act had been used to subjugate Ireland. The colonists will have to take action. They know they have the power to hit England where it hurts. They will boycott British goods. George Washington.
Block English goods. Starve their trade and manufacturing. Yes, the more I think about this plan, the more ardently I wish its success. Gentlemen in their several counties should explain matters to the people and urge them to adhere to the non-importation agreement.
For the boycott to be effective, the entire population will have to be mobilized. But up to now, the leaders have not involved the common people in the workings of government. Indeed, they think that ordinary people have no capacity for political thought. Gentlemen lead. Commoners know their place.
One of the hardest things, I think, for us to recapture of this distant, different world is the distinction between commoners and gentlemen, a kind of distinction that we find hard to understand because for us, almost all adult males are gentlemen. We put it on our restroom doors, the term, but these gentlemen saw themselves as separate from the rest of the populace.
18th century men, women, and children of every race, class, and region actually believed that hierarchy was the norm in nature and in society. Some people were better than other people. Some people were placed in circumstances that were better. Poor people were thought of as the poor. If you were wealthy, you were superior. That was how the world operated.
This world is beginning to change as common people take an active role in the protest movement. For many of the colonial elite, it seems to threaten the very stability of society.
There are these town meetings, which people of wealth and character do not even attend because they are sure to be outvoted by men of the lowest order. So it is government by the mob. This has given the inferior people such a sense of their own importance that a gentleman does not get from them even common civility anymore.
As the boycott grows and shops once filled with British merchandise begin to empty, More and more people are choosing to make do without imported manufactured goods.
I have cut back on every superfluous expense. I haven't even bought a new cap or gown since last Christmas. I'm even learning how to knit, something I've never done before. Making stockings out of good New England wool, throwing my mite for the public support.
The very idea that their American cousins are involving commoners, and now even women, in politics, is a subject for hilarity by London cartoonists. But the merchants and manufacturers in England are not amused. Their factories and counting houses are feeling the pinch. The British ministry blames a few ringleaders for all the troubles, particularly a Boston radical who celebrates popular protest, Samuel Adams.
I am no friend of riots and tumults. But when people are oppressed, when their rights are infringed upon, when arbitrary rulers are put over them, when government is secret, the people become alarmed. If they have any spirit of freedom, they'll fight for their liberties, and they're justified in doing so.
Unofficial courts, run by popular committees, begin dispensing a rough form of justice. It is more than some gentlemen have bargained for.
A few days ago, we got a taste of committed justice. They got hold of a customs officer by the name of Malcolm. It was the coldest night of the winter. He's stripped, stark naked, his body covered all over with tar and then with feathers. They drag him through town in a cart. Crowds beating him with clubs. They say they'll hang him unless he'll curse the governor and the parliament, which they couldn't make him do. The doctors say his flesh was coming off his back in slabs. It's impossible that the poor creature can live long.